as of today, we see a trend that data consumption is growing year over year nearly by 50%, right?
Yeah.
And that shows how important connectivity is.
In this episode of Embedded Insiders, Editor-in-Chief Ken Briodagh sits down with Dennis Nikles, the recently appointed Managing Director of Vodafone IoT Americas, to talk connectivity, IoT, AI, and embedded trends for 2026. Next, Rich and Sandra Rivera, a longtime Intel veteran and former CEO of Altera, and now Chairwoman of the board at VSORA, discuss the company's claim to make AI more accessible, efficient, and sustainable than ever. But first, Rich and Ken dive into the industry's most recent and impactful acquisitions, from Texas Instruments to Silicon Labs to Infineon Technologies, Synopsis, GlobalFoundries, and much more. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Embedded Insiders podcast. I am Assistant Managing Editor Tiara Oliver, joined as always with our Editor-in-Chief Ken Briodagh, and we have our contributing editor Rich Ness here with us. How are you guys?
Doing very well.
Fair there. You don't say like special guest or anything like that. Just our contributing editor. Whoop-de-doo.
You're still part of the team.
Well, good.
And happy to have you back. We've missed you, Rich.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
The embedded computing world's been getting a little bit hot around here, hasn't it? Ton of activity, it seems like, at least to my point of view.
For sure. Surprises, not surprises, and things that make sense and things that don't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest news, folks have to have heard about this already. We wrote about it. Everybody's been talking about it. The TI Silicon Labs announcement. TI is paying $7.5 billion in cash for Silicon Labs, which, quite frankly, seems like they still are getting a good deal.
Well, from what I heard, it's about 10 times. It was a revenue of $750 million, which is interesting. And sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm going to keep going here. I argued that when the person told me, and I said, no, they're $1 billion company, and I haven't checked this, so we'll have to check it. But they were $1 billion company at their high point, but the last year was in the high sevens.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't checked that either. That would be. I did not have the impression that Silicon Labs had lost a step a little bit over the year.
But in full disclosure, I'm much more concerned about their technology than their revenues, so I probably won't fact check it.
I agree. I think that the technology transfer is a much bigger deal. And that's why I say I think that TI has gotten a good deal on this, because picking up what Silicon Labs brings to the table is a big deal for TI. I mean, it's gonna expand their product offering for sure, but I think it's also going to inform future product development a lot.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to talk about this from a different perspective. When Infineon acquired Cypress, the culture at the two companies could not have been more different. One was a German company that was buttoned down, and the other one was a Silicon Valley company that acted like they're still in startup mode. And I mean that in a good way. And I remember having a conversation with the US president of Infineon, and I said some things about Infineon that I think he sort of took offense to, but I think he took it to heart, where the culture needed to change. And this is probably going back, like, I'll say 3 years, but time flies. I might be wrong about that. I think integrating Cypress into Infineon has been a phenomenal thing. I think it's made them move much quicker, be more edgy, be more Silicon Valley, and I think it's been great. Okay, so now where am I going with this? the cultures at Silicon Labs and TI are very similar. TI does not act, in my opinion, like a Silicon Valley company, and that's not a bad thing. It's not a negative. Obviously, TI is extremely successful, but they don't operate like Silicon Labs, who, in my opinion, is still in this $700 million startup mode. And it'd be really interesting to see how those cultures come together. If they can capture the same way that Infineon did with Cypress, if they can infuse all the really good things that that culture has to offer. I remember reading somewhere that Silicon Labs is almost regularly voted the best place to work among tech companies. And it's just because how they act and how they treat their folks. And again, I'm not disparaging TI because they're a wonderful company. I have lots of friends there, and I think they do a great job. But it's very different. So we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. It's big, but as I wrote about, it's not the only big deal that's gone on over the last not even 6 weeks into 2026 here. The Siemens bought Canopus AI, which is a AI-driven metrology solutions company, specifically because they wanted to offer semicon manufacturers precision and efficiency in wafer inspection. So Siemens is going after the semiconductor space from its point of view. GlobalFoundries, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, signed up to acquire the ARC processor IP solution business from Synopsis. So they bought ARC 5, ARC Classic, all of the ARC product lines, the NPUs from Synopsis. That was a big deal.
Which is interesting to me because I remember when Synopsis acquired the ARC portfolio.
Yeah, but Synopsis has been leaning, at least from my perception, hard on the ARC portfolio over the last 6 months or something, talking it up really big, making a big deal, and
but it didn't fit.
You don't think so?
I don't. To have a anyway, I don't want to get into why it didn't fit here and now, but it didn't make a lot of sense to me. It seemed like it was an outlier within the company.
Yeah. GlobalFoundries says that they're going to be integrating the business line and the people and everything with MIPS within GlobalFoundries,
which was another acquisition.
Yeah. So it's interesting, and they'll be obviously pushing the processor suite toward physical AI because that's what everybody wants to talk about these days. Again, only within the last month and a half, but still.
Well, there was another one as well. When I heard about Silicon Labs and TI, I happened to be at Infineon. I was doing a workshop with them, and was having a conversation with one of the guys from Infineon, and he said, we just acquired part of AMS, the sensor portfolio. I was like, well, I think I said a word that I won't say here on the podcast, but I was like, really? I didn't know that. So that one makes sense to me as well. Having the AMS sensor group is very innovative, and it fits from the other side of the Infineon culture, being obviously located in Austria. Their name used to be Austria Microsystems. So those cultures are the same. So that'll integrate very well.
Not to mention, speaking of Austrians and clocks, SciTime has acquired Renesas's timing business.
I love your segue.
Expected $300 million in revenue in 12 months post close for Renesas timing business. Huge deal for SciTime anyway. I think that all of this M&A mergers, acquisitions and stuff. I mean, it tells me that the embedded industry is about to have some kind of a shift. I feel like all of these companies doing this is either a symptom or a cause of a Either a growth spurt or a consolidation. I don't know which way it's going to go yet, but I think there's some kind of a change coming.
But why is there so much cash floating around? And that's obviously something that I know almost nothing about, since I just deal with the technology side. But it just seems weird that there's all this cash floating around, that people are making these acquisitions.
It's true. There isn't a lot of borrowed money in these discussions. There's a lot of cash on hand to be going place to place.
So does that mean I'm too late if I want a loan from somebody?
No, you just have to go to who just got paid.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
They're passing the same $10 around, as the old joke goes.
That's what it seems like. Interesting times as we head into embedded world, and we get to actually see all these guys.
Well, yeah, and will there be further announcements? I mean, the TI acquisition is, to me, big news. That's a big deal. $7.5 billion is a lot of money, and that's a big deal. I wonder if there are bigger M&A announcements to come, and what that means. I mean, are Mouser and DigiKey going to merge? This is wild speculation now, but who knows? I mean, what would be the craziest merger in embedded?
It's actually interesting. I hadn't even thought of that. I don't think it would be those two, but there's like Avnet has a $25 billion portfolio. They could pick up one of those smaller disties.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I wonder if any of the however many Taiwanese companies, I wonder if any of them are looking at joining forces, or Advantech looking to scoop some of them up.
Well, in light of that, actually, I could see somebody like the Taiwanese foundry guys picking up a foundry in the United States because of all the political stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that there wouldn't be any weird political fallout there because it's a Taiwanese company, but that would be I think that'd be very interesting and very smart. With all these little foundries getting built right now and things, that would be interesting.
For sure.
But I suppose it's not responsible of us to continue to speculate, so we should probably let it go.
That's right. I agree. It's fun being on the sideline.
Yeah, right. I'm glad I don't have to make those decisions. I just get to tell other people about them.
Well, I've actually been on both sides of those acquisitions. I've been in a company that's been acquired, and I've been in a company that has acquired, and it could be interesting.
I have too, although they were media companies, so slightly different animal. Back in the days when I used to work for these things called newspapers, for you younger listeners, they were these sheets of paper wide as the sky where people would print out things that happened in the world or even your local community, and everyone would read it. It was a wild time.
And your dad would yell, "Don't put that thing on the couch. The ink is going to come off."
And then you would start your fires or line your litter box with them.
Exactly. The good old days.
Now, here's Ken and Dennis Nikles of Vodafone IoT Americas.
Hello, friends. Welcome to another segment of Embedded Insiders podcast. I am very excited to be here with Dennis. Is it Nikles, Dennis? I forgot to ask you how to pronounce your last name.
I think that's okay. Yeah, in Germany it's a little bit Nikles, but if you call me Nikles, it's absolutely good.
Well, we've discontinued the nickel here in the States, so you can at least be unique along those lines now. Why don't you introduce yourself for the folks listening?
Yeah, thank you. Happy to be here, Ken, and thanks for having me. My name is Dennis Nikles. I'm new within Vodafone for now 4.5 months. I am heading our IoT business in the Americas as managing director. And I have a strong IT background, 47 years old, quite old in the meanwhile. And had a lot of experience in IoT. I come into IoT in 2016 in the meanwhile. And before I joined Vodafone, I led 4.5 years the IoT business of Deutsche Telekom.
Oh yeah. I also came from an IoT background before joining embedded computing.
Okay.
We'll have to talk when we're not recording about all the people that we know in common and gossip.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure we know the same people. IoT is a small business area.
Absolutely. Although it seems like now it's merging pretty effectively with embedded computing and lots of AI, especially at the edge, where IoT's always been strong. So let's talk a little bit about Vodafone and where you folks are going to be sort of looking at interesting things. We just finished up at time of recording with CES. And of course, this conversation with you and I has been pending since Embedded World North America last November. So we've been sort of a lot's been going on. So why don't you tell me a little bit about some of the trends that you're seeing in IoT and how that's intersecting with embedded and AI?
Yeah. Maybe I start a little bit with Vodafone because we are the global market leader in IoT. You see that here with 220 million connections we have in the meanwhile on our platform, and we provide global connectivity for our customers just on a single platform. Therefore, no local integration necessary. And with that, we are reducing complexity for our customers. That's our main target. And knowing that connectivity is in a lot of products today a most important thing. Think about a car without connectivity today and compare it to 10 years ago, right? It's a huge difference. Today, connectivity is a business critical things for car manufacturers. And we feel that as well, that the demands and as well quality demands are rising in that area. But not only with that, if I see on the CES trends, every second booth was around robotics, human robotics, production robotics, and drones, right? And if we see that technical development, all that stuff will need connectivity, to get data and to gain data, and that's very interesting and leaves me with a good feeling to be with Vodafone in that area and have a really compelling offer to our customers.
Of course. I think that cameras are still really important, really strong in automotive for sure. They're using a lot of different camera technologies and vision technologies, and all of that stuff has to be connected to. And the data rates there are probably bigger than anywhere else, is probably fair to say. They're sending a lot of data. Also, one thing I noticed at CES is smart glasses seem to be making a big, I don't know if comeback is the right word. Don't call it a comeback, but they're certainly growing in interest. The form factors are getting smaller and more interesting. And I even saw some nice metal framed ones, which I think that was the first time I'd seen metal framed smart glasses. It's plastic molded around whatever the battery is. And of course, all those need to be connected too, although I think usually that's short range just to a cell phone or something. But I think you're right. The number of connections is just going to keep going up in a bunch of different sectors.
Absolutely. Look, as an example, you talked about as of today, we see a trend that data consumption is growing year over year nearly by 50%, right? And that shows how important connectivity is. And as well, connectivity is as well needed to feed AI applications, right? Coming back to the to automotive, because automotive is 50% of IoT as of today, right? The by far the biggest biggest industry and the most important industry for us. You see that we train with all the data we transferred into the data centers of our customers. We train AI applications, which will be, and then the self-learning cars, right? Look at Tesla or something like this. How they with autonomous driving capabilities and so on. AI is wherever you need it, everywhere.
Yeah, and with so much of the AI sort of processing and even models being stored at the edge, the data rates, that most of that is being done to decrease latency and stop the so much data from being needing to be sent to the cloud. But I think that that's not going to mean that there's less data sent to the cloud. It's just going to make it possible to do AI in those places. And I think that's pretty fair to say, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's I think a totally fair statement. As we are talking about embedded and so on, yeah, therefore it's going to be more and more important that the integration of hardware and connectivity is getting more and more important for our customers, right?
Yeah.
Because with the growing connections, you need to take care that your networks are able to cover the peaks, right? And to cover all the devices in that network. And therefore, we are as well certifying each new device in the network to be ensure that this device is working in the best possible way for our customers in our networks. Therefore, bringing in millions of devices without knowing how the devices will react or something like this, it's simply not possible.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've been hearing about like sensor fusion for a long time, well, at least a few years now, and I talked to some folks about it at CES this past year and this last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, and all last year a bunch about sensor fusion, and now I'm starting to see a sort of uh, the creation of a horizontal layer that seems to me to be the combination of IoT and embedded and AI sort of all becoming unified into one horizontal layer. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this because it's sort of my pet like observation that I'm seeing them working interconnectedly more often than being treated as separate. And I'd love to hear what your thoughts are as to whether or not you've been seeing that or you're still seeing these sort of discrete industries.
Absolutely not. Look, this single pane of glass you mentioned, right, is for many customers they need it, because they have very often historical deployments, out of the last maybe 5 to 10 years. Then they have current deployments, most recently deployed, and of course they need to be safe for the future. Therefore, the single pane of glass functionality is as well an important element of reducing complexity for our customers. And look about what we announced last year. I think it was in summer. Our partnership with Symmetric is exactly going in this direction, because Symmetric is providing this horizontal layer and orchestrating different technologies underneath. Therefore, I strongly believe this capability will be really important in the future.
Yeah, I think you're right. And you raised an interesting sort of issue there, which is the idea of legacy hardware and software, and I mean software is reasonably easy to update, but hardware is much more difficult, especially in industrial settings where a lot of the folks listening to this will be working. But for automotive, for sure, legacy hardware is challenging, and um, and I know you said that you came from Deutsche Telekom, so I'm sure you remember the migrations from 2 to 3G and from 3G to 4G and then 4G to 5G, and those migrations keep getting shorter and shorter. Those life cycles seem to be getting shorter and shorter, and it seemed like we hardly had a chance to turn around in the room before people started talking about 6G or more, and Wi-Fi has had a similar expansion, beyond cellular. I mean, not even to talk about Zigbee and Bluetooth and LoRaWAN and all the other sort of not more specific connectivity options. I'm sure the engineers listening to this are concerned, about migrations, about legacy, about things like that. Can you tell us a little bit about what you think folks should expect in terms of connectivity legacy, in terms of these increasing data rates and things? Are people who are currently still on 5G going to need to be migrating in order to keep up? Are they going to be pushed into that position?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, because I think, and that's my personal thinking, is we as telcos, right, and as well the engineers behind, we need to take care that we are not completely decoupled from our customers. What I meant with that is the following. As of today, our customers are to 90% are still using 4G, because this is sufficient for their use cases. They are now starting to go into 5G SA and all that things. In some parts of the world, 5G is already out. We are thinking about 6G and so on. And therefore sometimes we need to take care that we do not forget our customers. And because all that migration you mentioned, right, is very often that the devices itself and the modems in it, right, cannot be simply switched from 4G to 5G and to 6G. Therefore, you need a completely new device, in some areas like health, completely new developed and new certified, which is a huge effort for our customers. And therefore, our customers need a little bit of safety for a certain period, right? That this technology they are investing in is the right technology, and not 2 years after they need to completely to start from scratch. And therefore we try to give our customers at least security for the next 10 years. It's in this time where the technical developments are really fast. It's a long time, but we believe our customers need this time period, because they need to calculate their business cases, right? They need to calculate their return of investments and so on. Therefore, I believe this kind of security and predictability is important for customers.
I agree, especially in those heavily regulated, for good reason, industries like healthcare, automotive, energy, those kinds of things. To them, 10 years is nothing. To them, that's the blink of an eye on a life cycle, or at least in the olden times. And by that I mean, what, 20 years ago? They would have been buying equipment that they expected to last 50 years. And now they're being told 10 years is an expected life cycle. You'll probably get 20 is generally what I hear people being told, is that you're going to be in an upgrade situation by the end of 10 years, and you can probably stretch it another 10 beyond that before you're obsolete. And I think that's what I've been hearing, especially in those regulated things where, as you say, they've got a whole certification process. They've got a whole regulatory process. No matter where you are, there's some kind of regulatory controls. If you're an international organization even more complex,
Yeah.
because those go, at least EU is pretty unified, but you've got the US, you've got all the Asian countries have similar but slightly different regulatory concerns. There's
I can tell you, in Germany, health is a
yeah,
nightmare, right? You need
sure.
3 to 5 years of recertification if you only change the modem into a medical device. Yeah, not a
Wow.
completely new device. If you just change the modem, yeah, it's ridiculous, to be honest. It's a little bit better in the US, yeah, but it's still a high effort. Yeah, but as well in some markets in Europe, it's a huge, unbelievable effort.
And that's mostly for privacy and security testing, right? When on those things, generally what they're looking for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why it's easier in the US, but we don't need to talk about that. I'll make the salty comments. You don't need to.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I'm calling you out, all you US developers out there. Make sure you're paying close attention. It's right in the front of my mind, and I'm not going to name who it was, but again, just to talk about CES for a second, one of the you saw a bunch of the exoskeleton prototypes and things around on the floor. Very interesting, cool stuff for mobility aids and potentially worker safety and worker aids and things. But I was talking to one of the booths, one of the manufacturers, and he's telling me all the tech specs and all the, oh, it can give you 5x, added strength and blah, 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 blah. And I said, oh, okay, cool. Tell me a little bit about security. And the guy's face just went white as a sheet. Hadn't considered it at all. No, it was totally open, no security at all. And I was like, hey, my man, that's attached to a whole person's body. You should probably think about it.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah. We don't need people suddenly starting to walk across town when they didn't intend to.
Yeah. Yeah, security is a big topic. Yeah, and I think in terms of security, you need security on each different layer of the technology, right? In
From
the network
silicon
layer,
all the way up.
Yes, in the network layer, on the device layer, right? Then on the application layer, and then on the user interface layer. Yeah, and therefore that's a huge thing. On the network layer, we are continuously improving security into our network. We are providing in the meanwhile basic security functionalities like avoiding man in the middle attacks and so on. We are bringing that on the network in place. Yeah, we have an own cyber security center analyzing what's going on, right, and trying using AI technologies to identify patterns and so on. And then where we support our customers as well is then the data transfer, from our platform into the data centers or in public clouds. The encryption of those data and so on is essential, for our customers, because very often it's their IP and customer data are included, and you absolutely need to take care of that you are as well following the regulations and legal requirements in so many countries.
Yeah. It's obviously we could go down a whole long rabbit hole on the subject of security. There's so much to be said, from functional security all the way up, and of course it's all terribly important and never and always becoming more and more important. We haven't sort of reached that thing we've been getting warned about for the last couple of years, with quantum computing making security procedures that we've been using forever obsolete. And I know lots of very smart folks are already working ahead of that problem and trying to work on that now. But it's still true that the most common security issues are not bad actors. They're mostly accidents or data leaks or things like that.
Human errors.
Human errors. what's the old joke that I love is that the most common computer error is located in the part that's directly between the keyboard and the chair. And that's still true. I think it's fair to say, which is why all those layers of security you were talking about are important, because they're going to prevent the error from getting through if all goes well. The bad actor problem is just a forever problem. There's always going to be somebody, and sometimes they're going to get through, and that's why security is often about response and mitigating that risk rather than preventing every occurrence.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true, and technology can help, right,
Sure.
to reduce human errors, because we are all humans, right? And technology can help really to train awareness, right? What I am doing here, and maybe asking 2 times, what are you really sure that you want to do that? It's starting very often so simply. You
Sure.
don't need the high sophisticated technology. Sometimes easy things are increasing security a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. It's still about the nuts and bolts, to use American football term, the blocking and tackling is really just doing those fundamental things that help keep you safe. Although I don't envy the people whose main job it is to keep track of all those fundamentals. As we get near the end of our time, Dennis, I'd love to sort of give you the floor a little bit, because it's a new year. We're looking at a deeply in flux technology industry. There's so much going on, so much development and change and incremental improvement in a lot of directions. What are you looking forward to this year? What are some of the technological things that you think are going to be cool and exciting that you can't wait to either see customers using or get your hands on personally?
Oh, okay. Then we need to differentiate between myself and our customers, because from a customer perspective, I think 5G SA is a huge thing in some industries. As well, identifying the advantages and benefits for our customers of this new technology, like slicing, 5G RedCap, and all that things. Therefore, a lot of our customers are currently thinking about it and testing it. We have this on our platform already available. Then still, I think the satellite integration, non-terrestrial networks, is a very important thing. Look what the newest innovation in Starlink as an example, right? Using NVIDIA technology, to I think to get to 300% more performance than the old ones. Therefore, I believe satellite connectivity and the integration with terrestrial networks will be an important topic in this year.
Sure.
Those things I can imagine, or we have at least some evidence for that, because customers are asking us continuously for testing it, and can we be an early adapter, and so on. For me personally, I think this robotics topic is a very interesting thing. I'm not sure if you see that in the same way. There is quite a big difference between what I see live at CES about this robots and what they can do, and what I read, what is it maybe in China already working, right? Sometimes you have the feeling in China there are robots working in each household or in each production area, and then you come to CES and see very simple use cases, and so on. Therefore, not sure, and I'm really interested to see, is there a big difference, right? Or how fast this development can really be, because A little bit help here in my household. I can
Yeah.
could be a good idea.
I would have no argument with just, an extra pair of hands, as it
Yeah.
were, robotic,
Yeah.
be they. Although, I live in the US, it's really hard to tell, especially when you're talking about Chinese news and announcements, to balance, because we get pretty heavily filtered as to what we're going to see and what we're going to cover. And so it's hard to tell, but I see the same kinds of reports. So I don't know how widespread it is. Also, China's a big place, so maybe we're seeing what's going on in Shenzhen or Beijing or wherever, and most of the country is not doing that. I think that's probably the most likely thing. But yeah, robotics is really cool for me. You know what else? Honestly, I don't wear glasses as an everyday thing, but man, a set of smart glasses that really does offer a lot of functionality without. I like a heads-up display, but like I need it to also be like, hey, you're about to walk into a wall, because as you start, which I mentioned that because I saw that at CES. This thing, it was a very basic prototype, but it had the like visible in the glass, like informational display and mapping and stuff. But then at one point I was messing around with it, and the warning came up that said, "Stop! You're about to walk into an obstacle." And I looked through the glass instead of at the HUD in the near field, and I was walking straight at a wall.
Yeah.
Which that's a problem they have to overcome.
These new Ray-Ban classes,
Yeah.
right? That are really cool. Yeah, it looks like a normal glasses here. Yeah, but the technology is really impressive.
Yeah, really very, very cool. And I sort of am a simplistic. I used to be like a carry a bunch of stuff everyday carry kind of guy. Now I'm like, I want to carry as few things as possible at all times. So like, if I was all the way down to like a set of glasses and an earbud, I'd be so happy.
Yeah. Do you know
Which,
the movie Surrogates with Bruce Willis? It's one of my favorite movies. Yeah.
It's a good movie.
Even if I hope that technology will be not on this level that we humans are only sitting in our rooms, right?
No, yeah.
and steering that, but somehow we are on that track, right, with the robotics topic and all that things.
Yeah, I like we've got some good snow on the ground right here right now, and so I like going outside and doing some hiking. I might, if I get outside before I lose the sunlight today, I might go out snow hiking for a little while.
Yeah.
So you won't catch me staying in my room all the time, but but I tell you what, if I didn't have to spend my time outside going to the grocery store and I could send somebody else to do it, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
I've always said you'll be able to tell if I ever get rich, because although I love cooking and I really enjoy driving, I want them both to be hobbies. I don't want to have to do them all the time. So that's the technological innovation I want for the future, is give me a chef, give me a driver, give me all that stuff so that I can only do it when I want, when it's fun.
Yeah.
You'll see me cruising around in my my little MGB or my Miata just for entertainment. Dennis, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. I really, really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome, and thanks for having me. It was an absolutely pleasure, and I will come and visit you in Connecticut.
Absolutely, I'll show you around. I'll show you around New Haven. We've got some nice museums and some great stuff to see.
Yeah.
Folks out there listening, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you. Don't forget to do all the subscribey things, and stick around, because I know this episode isn't over yet. You've got lots more to hear.
Now, here's Rich and Sandra Rivera of VSORA.
Good afternoon. My name is Rich Ness. I am with Embedded Computing Design. This week, we reached a little higher into the stars, and we have a special guest, Sandra Rivera, who is the chairwoman of the board for VSORA. How you doing, Sandra?
I'm doing great, Rich. Thank you for that gracious introduction.
My pleasure. Well, I hate to say it, the last time we spoke, you were at a different company in a little bit of a different position. What you been doing for the last year or so?
Well, a lot has happened in the past year. I think the last time we spoke, I was at Embedded World in Germany, and I was delivering the opening keynote to the event, and it was fabulous. the event was fabulous. And since then, I successfully sold the company on behalf of Intel to Silver Lake as the controlling interest partner. I left in the summer after the new CEO came in, and I handed the reins over, retired from Intel, and I've been doing a lot of board and advisory work, which is what led me to VSORA. And now I joined as the chair of the board in December, and I'm super excited about it.
So when I heard what happened over there, I have to say I was shocked. Was it a surprise to people within Altera what the heck happened there?
Well, I'll say that we had a plan that we had laid out with the then CEO of Intel and the board, that we were going to sell a minority stake in Altera, and that we were going to put together 8 quarters of sequential growth and then get the company set up for an eventual IPO. And that's what I went over to do. And the team was executing extremely well. We were having a lot of fun. We went on our roadshow to sell what had been planned as a minority stake in the company. But after Pat left Intel, Pat Gelsinger, the then CEO of Intel, and then the new CEO and the new leadership team came in, they actually didn't want to hold on to the majority stake of the business, and so we ended up selling it to Silver Lake. They have the controlling interest in the company, and they have a playbook. They normally bring in a new leadership team, a new CEO, and so that was part of the proposal and part of the deal. And so it was I suppose a surprise, because that's not what we all intended to do. But it wasn't a surprise that we had this idea to sell an investment in the business, a stake in the business, and that the company would continue to some successful exit. And in this case, the acquisition by Silver Lake and whatever they're planning now, obviously that's a new leadership team that will drive that forward. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know you're too gracious to say it, but their loss becomes the gain of VSORA. So before we get into VSORA, because I have to admit I was not that familiar with the company before you joined, and I dove in and did a little research at that point. How did you get to VSORA, and were there stops along the way, or what were you doing in the meantime?
It's interesting because it's always who calls you or who reaches out and what calls you return and what becomes interesting. And I had also not heard of VSORA, despite being in the AI business myself.
So did it come up as a spam call when they called you?
It came up as a call from the search firm that they were working with, whom I know quite well. And so they asked me if I was interested in talking with this company that was based in Europe, building AI inference chips. And I'm like, there's a company in Europe building AI inference chips? And so I said, sure, yes, I'll talk with them. And when I met Khalid, who is the CEO of VSORA, I would say that it was just instant chemistry, and we had so much to talk about. And what started out as supposedly a 30-minute call, I think we talked for almost an hour and a half that first conversation, because I have been where he's been, building the types of chips that he's building, solving the kinds of problems that he's solving. And I was just so impressed by how small and nimble and agile and capable this team was and is, that one thing led to another, and what had originally been a call about joining their board became a request or an offer to join as the chair of their board, which I accept. Yeah.
So without being too promotional, what is it that these guys do?
So VSORA is in the AI inference chip business. So they are really very focused on all of the unique requirements that you have for inference as opposed to training, which is very much about low latency, high bandwidth, determinism in terms of the workloads that you're running, and very sensitive to cost per token. And as we know, GPUs and CPUs, because CPUs are part of the AI workload as well as typically the head node, but GPUs and CPUs and general purpose processing technologies do the job of training very, very well, and are quite successful in terms of addressing that part of the workflow. But when it comes to actual deployment, and certainly deployments within data centers and enterprises at scale, you do get into many more issues around power constraints, cost constraints, area constraints, as well as the need to have much lower latency, much more real-time inference performance, and to have that be done at a deterministic level for the types of devices and the types of use cases and applications that you're running. So this is what they're focused on, and they have a unique architecture. They have a unique approach to embedded memory and trying to really address a lot of the issues that exist between the compute and the memory access and the memory bandwidth. And so they have a lot of innovation and a lot of grit, and really a driven team that is focused on doing one thing and one thing only, which is low latency, high performance AI inference.
How many people is this company? How large a group are we talking about?
We're talking just a few dozen people. And
Okay.
so the fact that they have designed and taped out such a complex logic device on latest process technology, latest packaging technology, they're manufacturing at TSMC. So of course they're fabless. They have great support from TSMC, who've been really strong partners that have also invested in them in terms of their own resources and their know-how. Means that TSMC is also seeing something really special in VSORA in the way that they're leading in terms of new disruptive innovation in the market. And again, you don't see that many companies based outside of the US, but certainly in Europe that are doing these types of complex chip designs. And we've successfully taped out, and we're just waiting for our chip to come back in May so that we can start deploying.
Where specifically in Europe are they located?
They're based in Paris, France. So a lovely place to be headquartered. The team has been together, as I mentioned, Rich, a number of years. They had a previous company, or this CEO, Khalid, had a previous company. They had a successful exit from that company. They reformed in this company, really focused on the automotive industry and a lot of the autonomous vehicle types of use cases. And then after everything that happened with ChatGPT and the AI focus and resurgence that happened as a result of that, they decided that they had a lot of unique technology and capability that was very applicable to addressing the AI inference problem. So they decided in 2018 to pivot, and in 2022 they started designing this latest chip that they're deploying they taped out and will be coming back now, and we're looking forward to deployments later this year.
And what does Sandra Rivera bring to this party?
Well, having scaled a number of businesses, and Rich, that before Altera, I spent a lot of years at Intel. Most of my time there was spent building and growing the networking business, and we started that as tens of millions of dollars of revenue. And when I left as the leader of that organization, when I made a pivot at Intel, I was very proud that the team had achieved almost $5 billion in revenue. So I certainly know how to build and scale businesses. And I have great relationships for many years, not just in the networking business, but then later on in the data center and AI business. And I think that I can certainly help Khalid and his team and VSORA navigate all the decisions that they'll come to in terms of how they can accelerate their innovation, how they can leverage the resource pool that they have to focus their efforts on the right markets and the right customers, and certainly how to build and scale a sustainable business for the long term.
Many companies that go this route, I'll even say most companies that go this route, have a goal of reaching a certain point and then being acquired. Is that the plan here?
One of the things, it's an excellent question, because one of the things that appealed to me so much about working with Khalid and VSORA is the fact that they're looking to build a company for the long term. Now, does that mean that they will do a public offering at some point? Does that mean that they're open to acquisition? I think a successful exit looks a lot of different ways, but the commitment to build and grow an organization, to continue to invest in IP, and to continue investing in the team and frankly the culture, so that you are building a long-term, sustainable, differentiated value proposition for your customers, that really appeals to me, regardless of whatever that successful exit looks like in the long term.
Okay. You said that they're waiting for the chip to come out in May. What's next? May is right around the corner. What do the next 12 months hold for VSORA?
Yeah, so we have a lot of ambitious plans this year. We're looking forward to publishing the results of the actual silicon performance. We've done a lot of simulation work. We've done a lot of synthetic analyses and benchmarks and performance measurements that show we should have a really good showing this year at MLPerf, because we're going to contribute our results there. But once we get the silicon back, it'll be great to put it in a system and a platform, run real live workloads, and then submit those results. So that's going to be a big milestone for us. And then in the second half of this year, we're actually looking to deploy in a number of locations in Europe. We already have sites and customers lined up for that. We're building our boards now. We're building an OEM module. We're building the server, the rack, the system. So all of that just to demonstrate that this is very much deployable. It's not just a chip, because as you probably know by now, that most companies want a higher level of integration in order to consume and deploy your product. So we're building on, obviously starting with the chip, but on the system, the platform, the software, the integration efforts, and up to the actual rack level, so that we can demonstrate at some level of scale the performance of our chips all working together.
And the goal is to be a chip vendor, not to be an IP vendor, right?
That very much is the goal, is that we're going to sell the silicon, how we actually deploy that, and perhaps it's on OEM modules or PCIe boards, or again in a server or a rack, which we would do that with partners in our ecosystem. We're building out an ecosystem, so we wouldn't necessarily do that by ourselves, but we are just trying to make the technology more consumable and more easily deployable by taking care of a lot of those integration efforts that are difficult and challenging, but not necessarily value add for our customers. So we're trying to get them to the time to value a lot quicker by doing a lot of that foundational work for them.
I am very much looking forward to see how this plays out, because I know your history. So I think that there's a good chance this is going to work out.
I think so. As I said, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, because I think they're the right company with the right product at the right time. There's a lot of demand for inference. As you know, inference is the fastest growing part of the AI workload. From a training and foundational model perspective, that's probably going to remain the domain of a handful of customers or companies. But when you look at all of the use cases for AI inference in the data center, and even all the way out to the edge and physical AI, I think this is the most exciting and most wide open part of the AI workflow, and we plan to be a major player in that.
Well, thank you very much for spending a few minutes with me, Sandra. This is cool stuff.
Thank you, Rich. It's always great to see you. I appreciate you having me on.
That was Sandra Rivera. She's the chairwoman of the board of VSORA, and I'm Rich Nass with Embedded Computing Design.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Embedded Insiders. For more daily news, videos, and podcasts, visit our website at embeddedcomputing.com.